What's going on, guys? It's Birdsinthetrap MMA, and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about fights that I see being one-sided victories for the winner. And these are fights that I've seen debates, people tossing up about it. I've even talked to people in real life where I give my take and they're like, what? And I'm like, what? So with that being said, guys, that's the topic for this video. It was only going to be about one fight, but I figured, you know what, we might as well throw a few more on here. So first things first, it's in the thumbnail. Strickland versus Hernandez. I almost said Fernandez. Strickland versus Hernandez. This is the one where I said my take, and it was met with some pushback, and I was shocked. But guys, I'm here to tell you, I read the script. Hernandez is going to walk through Sean Strickland, and he's either going to dominate him or stop him on the ground late in the fight. Maybe Strickland wins a round, but I'm telling you, he is not going to have his typical avalanche style where he builds into it, and by 4 and 5 you're fighting his fight. Strickland's going to be fighting Hernandez's fight, because Hernandez, man, the tenacity and his ability to marab you at middleweight is insane. He did just beat Roman Dolidze, which is like, come on now, you beat Roman Dolidze, but he beat Brendan Allen. And yeah, what is there to even talk about here? Strickland, if you're going to argue a Strickland victory, You're thinking he defends 50 takedowns. You're thinking he looks like Petr Yan, basically. You're picking him to look like Petr Yan against Merab in their second fight, which he's not going to do. He's going to go out there, and he's going to do his jab, and he's going to do his teep, and he might have some moments where he realizes he's doing the jab and teep, and he'll try to do something else, but he's not going to go out there and be Petr Yan. Petr Yan shoots his own takedowns. Petr Yan throws head kicks and fucking elbows and more strikes than Strickland. His tool bag is deeper, you know what I mean? I'm comparing it to that fight, but this is its own fight. Obviously, it's middleweight. And that's why Hernandez is going to just fucking mog him. And like I said, I don't think there's even too much to talk about. Maybe they're close in size, and Hernandez can't get the grappling off right away. Excuse me. I could see it take until the second round, but that's the second round of a 5-round fight. So, with that being said, guys, the first entry on the list, Strickland versus Hernandez. I foresee a dominant, fluffy victory. Maybe not dominant in the beginning of the fight, but as things go on, you will understand, and you will see, okay, Strickland has an idea of what to do in certain positions, but he will ultimately get out-grappled. And in this fight, especially outpaced, because we all talk about Strickland and his 5-round cardio, and don't get me wrong, he has 5-round cardio, but like I said, that's for when he fights his fight. And if someone grapple fucks him and fucking puts it on him early and he gets overwhelmed, his computer gets fried, I think he'll start biting on shit from Hernandez. Strickland does have a chin. He does have a pretty good chin. I don't think he'll get dropped in this fight. But this is going to be a Hernandez victory, guys. Lock it in. I'll be locking that in with this video. And if somehow any of my opinions change on these fights, I still will be making prediction breakdowns when these cards actually appear. It's just a little tough at the start of the year. It's going to take a while till we get to everything. So let's just cover it from afar, and then when we're in the thick of it, we'll jump in, right? So the next fight on the list is going to be... I spoke on this the other day. I said this just the other day. When I made my UFC 324 rant, and this is a continuation of my thought process, man. Do not overthink this fight. Don't do it. You're sitting there, you're thinking, oh man, Arnold now, I don't know. But don't overthink it, because Silva is going to be winning this fight, and it's pretty likely to be by knockout. So if you're a Arnold Allen fan, which I think all of us got a little bit of Arnold Allen fan in us, but if you're like a heavy Arnold Allen fan, you got to be ready. And that's as simple as that. And this is coming from someone who doesn't love Gene Silva. You know what I mean? I think around the Bryce Mitchell fight, I was obviously rooting for him against Bryce Mitchell. That was pretty satisfying. But your boy picked Lopez by second round knockout, and it ended up going exactly that way. And the way he conducted himself after that fight is another reason I'm a little... I ain't touching him. I'm not claiming this guy. This guy is weird. He seems annoying as fuck. And with that being said, he was beating Diego Lopez's ass in that second round. Got dominated for the first round, and then came back and won the second round with just an avalanche, just snowballing towards him with so many dynamic shots. Such a deep tool bag. I was talking about this in the other video. He has so many options, whereas Allen is so patient. I don't think he's as fast. He's not as aggressive. He's not as intense. He doesn't have the finishing ability. And his last fight was a year and a half ago, where he went to a pitter-patter 29-28 with Giga Chikadze, which has not aged well. I don't know if that was a 29-28. Maybe he won all the rounds, but regardless, it's not going to matter, because Gene Silva is going to win by knockout. And when this happens, I'm not going to be that surprised. I know there's a lot of people out there that are actually going to pick Allen. And don't get me wrong, maybe he goes out there and, totally range games him and just keeps him at the end of everything, and Gene Silva gets frustrated, maybe kind of shuts down. But we're banking on things that I just don't think will happen. I think he'll just go in there and bark at him and just walk him down. There has not been a moment on the feet, aside from one spinning elbow, that makes me think Gene Silva can't win every fight as long as it's on the feet. His only moment of vulnerability was the spinning back elbow from Lopez, which he walked into because he was being a fucking dumbass and just being overzealous in the fight. So, I'm just, maybe if he doesn't just plod forward and just walk into that, I do think he would have beat Lopez. And that's coming from someone who picked Lopez, like I just said. So, with that being said, if I think you're, on your way to beating Diego Lopez, in terms of momentum and the way the fight's going, I know anything can happen, but if you're at that level and Lopez is, definitely top 5 for the division, I think you'll clean up Arnold Allen. But I will say maybe this fight goes to the third round. Maybe. I smell more of a second round finish here, but I can see a third round finish. And another factor too that I just thought about is the grappling, man, and the submission offense. Gene Silva, like he did to Bryce Mitchell, he is the type of guy to just grab you up when you're lacking. So that's another thing that Allen's got to be on his toes for. With that being said, guys, let's get into the next matchup on the list. Kyoji Horiguchi versus Umar Albazi. This is a fight that I do not see being... Here's the thing, right? Because it's a flyweight fight. So they're both going to strike and they're both going to hit each other. And it might not be a total domination where it could be at the heavier weight classes. You know what I mean? It might look back and forth, but by the end of it, and the way that both guys look, the only thing you're going to be saying, and I got this straight out of Bedtime MMA when he talks about Horiguchi against Tagir. He says this every time. Belt to ass is what Horiguchi's going to do. Alright, he's going to fucking whoop up Umar Albazi. Because here's the thing, man. Umar Albazi is a fraud, And I think a lot of people forget that Umar Albazi is a fraud. He is in the top 5. He's been in the top 5 for way too long, first of all. He got in the top 5 2.5 years ago. It's almost going to be 3 years when he beat Kai Kara France. It'll be 3 years this year. And that was a robbery win, and that's his one that got him up there. And I think maybe he was even 3 or 1, or not 1, 3 or 4. But now he's number 5, and he's fighting Kyoji Horiguchi, who is rejuvenated, who is a beast, who has power, and looked super dangerous against Tagir. I mean, he just absolutely belt to ass them. And Umar Albazi, very weak resume, very shitty resume. the idea people have of Umar Albazi is just not reflected in anything that he's done. You know what I mean? Kyoji Horiguchi, he's from that DJ era. He's probably going to hold it down. That they've been holding it down. And why wouldn't he? You know? He's on a win streak. He's back in the UFC with a dominant win against a very good opponent. Not very good, but a good opponent, right? A good jump back in, where it's like, okay, we got something here. Fought DJ, you know, fought in Risen, all kinds of experience, tons of UFC experience, more than Albazi. Come on, man. Why is it in the Apex? Why is it in the Apex, man? Horiguchi's gonna beat him by decision. Because it's a 3-rounder, he's gonna beat him by decision, but it's gonna be a dominant decision. Yeah. So, with that being said, the next fight that I'm gonna be talking about for this list is Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint Denis. Now, this is the one on my list that I am actually least confident in, because I think Benoit wins this fight with relative ease. And what it comes down to is Dan Hooker not being a one-punch knockout artist, not being the slickest like counter striker like Dustin Poirier, and he's not some grapple fucker. You know what I mean? He's not going to go out there and maul Benoit on the ground like we've seen you could. And I still think he's improved since the Moicano fight where he got mauled on the ground. Benoit's got a lot of momentum, getting right back in there, back to back. I love that. Dan Hooker getting in there back to back, but after a long layoff, and now after another loss where he did take some damage. So I think everything points to a pretty easy Benoit win. Don't get me wrong, Dan Hooker can definitely pull it off. When I think of like a Dan Hooker like opponent that he would beat, it is a guy around the BSD level, but I kind of believe in DSB. I kind of believe in BSD as a prospect again. Like after the year he's had. I mean, Beneil is an old man, but he just fucking blitzed him out of there. Like, killed him. Like, that brother gone. And beat Rufy. I think Rufy's a better striker than Dan Hooker. Is that ridiculous? Benoit knows how to implement his game now. He knows how to do what he wants to do. And don't get me wrong, in his losses, he wasn't even like they weren't inexcusable. You know what I mean? Like, he was beating Dustin, and then he gassed the fuck out and got knocked the fuck out. He was fighting at a crazy pace. And in his fight with Moicano, he threw a kick, it got caught, and he could not do shit about it. But I just don't think that would happen again. I think you could run that back and that wouldn't happen again. And I don't think that Dan Hooker's going to do that. You know, maybe a different high-level opponent, but not in this one, Chief. So, whoa! I was trying to move the camera and I just leaked my next one. Oh, no. Well, I guess that means we should get into it, right? Let's get into it. Umar versus Figgy. This is my last one on the list, and this might be the one I am most confident in. Either this or Strickland and... Okay, actually I'm pretty confident in all of them, except for Benoit and Dan Hooker. But this one, man, I'm picking Umar no matter the odds. I would bet on Umar. That isn't true, actually. That figurative expression, but I think Figgy's done, man. And I kind of talked about this one in the 324 video from the other day, but I don't think Figgy has anything left in the tank to give to the division. In his last fight, he looked so asleep, I want to say. He barely won, and just... I think Figgy is just so comfortable these days with just being a range meister, a point fighter, if you will. I mean, he point fought his last fight, you know what I mean? Umar, he's not the biggest finisher, but he's not a point fighter. He's not a tit for tat point fighter. He is a maul you, win every round point fighter. And when he's on the feet, he's done pretty well. You know, he beat Merab for 2 rounds and still showed promise in the 3rd round of that fight. He has shown some deficiencies. You know, he has been dropped, which the Bekzat knockdown was not a good look, and he got dropped by Batista and Bekzat. That is not a great look. But I do think Figueiredo, pound for pound, has the power and is stronger or more powerful than those guys. But I think the state he's at in his career versus Umar is not going to be enough. It's not going to prevail. Umar's going to control him. He's going to put him in an armbar. I think he'll put him in the crucifix. I think he'll control him for a whole round. And I think he'll probably stop him at some point. And this was something I said in my other video. I'm going to say it one more time. I can see Figgy pulling up and just looking like shit. Just, again, looking asleep, just not doing anything. Like, I can see it being like 3 minutes in and you're like, okay, like, someone, come on, do something. And am I going to say he could get chinned? Is Umar going to chin him? No, I don't think Umar's going to chin him. But Figgy, he's 37, 38 in the bantamweight division, where he's still cutting a lot of weight, even as a former flyweight. I think he's adjusted to bantamweight, you know? There's no more lighter man skill. And there's also no more Chito Vera fights and Cody Garbrandt fights, you know? Umar is a tough opponent. He's gonna win this fight. And you know what? I think he'll stop him. I think he'll submit him. Or he'll stop him on the ground, almost similar to how Sandhagen stopped him, where he's getting beat the fuck up, but like he quits to something else. Like, I can see some external factor getting in the mindset of Figgy. Why do I have such a weird feeling about that, man? I don't know. But those are my picks, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I said I'd keep putting them out, and boom, here we are with another one. Let's go. Drop a like and subscribe. Thank you.